know you're all rearing to go for a coffee, but we have one more treat left for you before afternoon tea. So next up, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce the legend David Yu, founder of Veve. Give him a round.
Hello, Sunrise. All right, my name's David, co-founder, CEO of Veve. But before I start today on my session, which I will be talking to you through about my journey through my entrepreneurship and my journey, really. But before I do that, I'd just like to see the room. Put your hands up if you click anything in your life before: trading cards, money counts, coins, banknotes, money. All right, we have few in the room. So I'm going to take you through my journey, how I founded my company, and most people will probably think the journey is, all the glorious side, but they don't think about the hardier. So I'm going to take you guys all the way back to 307 AD, how I started my journey. Now, I'm a huge stamp coin collector. What I have up here on the screen is a silver Roman ancient coin. And the significance of this coin, you see it has a war chariot. So you might think, well, what has this got to do with what Veve does and what we do and how we innovate in our business? So I'm just going to bring up a photo here, an image of a war chariot. You can see two horses pulling a chariot. And the significance of this chariot is basically how we transport up to today. So here's a photo on the right. It's a 1900 train pulled by two horses on track. And later on, you see on the left-hand side is a modern train run on the rail. So the whole entire world of innovation of how we transport really started from many, many, many centuries ago. So you think about when we build things, when we think about how we build ships, how we build aeroplanes, how we build things structure, we have to think about how we transport. So here's an image of how planes are being transported before it can fly. So the whole thing is really based on the backside of two horses, but in a way, how we transport and how it's set moving forward. Now, collecting, it's going back, it's noted, to over 3,000 BC. And today's collectible size industry is worth over 400 billion. And Veve basically here to reinvent how collecting works. And that's what we do. So last week, I was putting together some slides and some clips of some of the things that have been sold incredibly in the collectible market. You got the Banksy artwork going for over $25 million. In fact, Post Malone bought a Lord of the Ring Magic the Gathering trading card, one card for over $2 million US of a guy who pulled it out from a $5 pack of trading cards. You got Pokemon cards going up as much as £4 million for a single trading cards. Memorabilia, comic book, stamps are just becoming what we really call a non-fungible side. Now, that's really how big the collectible market, just to give you an idea. So you can start thinking to go through some of your comic collections, your early trading cards, your stamp things that you have at home. They could be worth something to somebody. Now, it's my time to share with you my journey through how I really started my business and the collecting and my young entrepreneurship. I started collecting stamps at the age of 10. And basically, I have a knack of things about history. So collecting stamps, then going to the telephone cards, and slowly that leads me to where my collectible business is today. So what my young entrepreneurship really started is when I was at the age of 15. At 15 years old, I had chicken pot, and what happened was I spent the entire summer at home. And I got a 2 or 3 kg pack of stamps where I had to cut it off the envelope, soak it on the bath, and basically the stamp will peel off. And what I would do is I would dry them out, and then I will go to the local stamp club the next summer, basically start doing swapping and trading with one another. I figured out my desire of funding that hobby, I needed more money. So what I do with the excess stamps I have is I put them in a little beautiful backing board with the sets of stamps inside, and I sold through souvenir store down in Queen Street. And that's really how my journey of entrepreneurship really started. On Friday nights, me, my best friend, my brothers will hit to town, we'll have a meal, they will go to Pendragon, Mark 1 Comic, I will go to the nerdy stamp center, and then I will do my run through the souvenir store, basically swapping over the stamps and collect money. Slowly, I built my first pot of gold. In 1995, Mark 1 Comic in Auckland City, their parent company, Unicorn Games, went in receivership. And this was where my opportunity really began. My friends and my brothers say, you really should buy the stock that they have. So through the liquidators, I was able to use the $1,500, $1,600 I had, and I bought about a dozen boxes of you don't know what you get in them. So I didn't even have a car. So what happened, we took all the product back to my parents' garage, opened it up, it was full of novelty items. Star Trek marks, you got Looney Tunes, Bugs Bunny things. In the Takapuna Sunday market, I met a guy by the name Steve Park. He also had a store selling novelty products at Victoria Park Market. I was easily able to flip what I had for about $5,000 to $6,000. And not knowing what else to do, I went back to the liquidator and purchased the remaining boxes they had for sale. But this time was very different. I went back and I got home, I opened up the boxes of all the products, and it was full of Dungeons and Dragons role-playing book, trading cards, tin soldiers, Warhammer, board games. And God, I'm thinking, how am I gonna be selling these? My first thought was, hey, let's go to the local computer store in the Takapuna Shore City Galleria. I tried to convince the shop owner to partner with me to sell these products. And later on, he said to me, why don't we set up another location where he was gonna run a service operation where right now is the Sentinel in Takapuna. It used to be Takapuna Village. So that's where I set up my first retail store in 1997. Here's a slide. So I started with phone card in 95. There's a phone card magazine produced by Telecom, and I set up my first business called Young Collectors Phone Card. And in fact, further down you'll see my name printed on it because everyone thought I was David Young. But the point was, I wanted young people to get into collecting. So I set up the telephone card business, and I was aggregating helping people to find the collectibles that they want to own and to purchase. And on the other side, you will see the Vagabond game stores. These are 2 stores that were set up in the early 2000s. The first store came to in 97 in Takapuna Village, as I mentioned. And from that business, as of today, the 2 shops still exist. One is in the Courthouse Lane in Chancery, one in Takapuna. And what I have learned from that entrepreneurship setting up the retail store is that I was able to learn a lot about collectors. And one of the best takeaway I ever had was to learn what we call the second secret. So the second secret is really understanding what your customer want, what they like to have. Some of the customers now I have in my shop are grown up. They're professional, doctors, lawyers, they have high disposable income. So I was able to learn what these people really want and how to connect them. So in the back of my retail store, you will see tables and chairs where people can come at any weather, sunny, raining, windy. You will be able to come in on one of our gaming nights. In 30 minutes, you will be able to meet a new friend. And that's what we call community building. So understanding what the second secret of that person one opens up that conversation. For now, I'm standing here. For all you know, I'm a founder, a CEO. But if you also collect Pokemon cards, you now know who to go to. You know that person one step further. And that's connecting that community and that product. 20 years later, in 97, was also another very significant year, because this was the year that I met my co-founder in Veve today. So going back to 20 years of today, basically is where Dan came in. Dan was pitching to me about building a website for my shop. And after long negotiation with him, we came to a conclusion is that I will pay him partly in cash payment for the website, and the other half will be paid by a contract of store credit. And he reluctantly accepted. And 20 years later, we become co-founders into Veve. In 2015-16, he messaged me to go. He's traveling all around Asia, Mexico, and so on. He got to Thailand. He goes, Dave, would you like to catch up? I was at Taipei at the time. He flew to Taipei. We had a blast, and we were sharing stories and ideas of what the next business we could do together. 2017, many of you will probably remember, it was all talks about blockchain. So talked about cryptocurrency and how another exchange got scammed, another thing got hacked. So our initial idea was, how do we build a business around this industry? And we thought about coming up, like everyone else in that 2017, is to build a white paper. And if any of you don't know what white paper is, it's basically a business plan for you to go and raise. Our white paper was over, I think, 60 pages. And that 60 pages contained pretty much, if we did execute everything we wanted, we possibly could own the world. So it was, a bit ambitious. And between the 17 to 19, we were visiting and attending every type of blockchain, crypto event, meeting people throughout. We had speaking in Nifty. We were in Korea, Singapore, New York, Tokyo, everywhere, non-stop. And that was basically what crypto is about, the digital business. That 2 years felt like it was 2 decades, because the industry we were in was very fast-paced moving. And what we were pitching was digital collectible, where nobody really understood and was very, very hard to do. But the hindsight was, we got to meet everyone you could ever know, the founder of Ethereum, Litecoin, CZ, CryptoKitties, everyone, to get the investors on board. We were pitching non-stop. So 2017 to 19 was pitch, 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 hustle, and repeat every day. So now, I'm going to be talking about what Veve is about and what really got us to where we are today, and share some of our key stats. It was an idea before 2017. And we basically went to live launch in January 21. And what we have done was we introduced a groundbreaking app that allows users to collect, to trade, and open up unlimited possibility what they could do with creation. So before I came on, I thought, maybe I should write on ChatGPT what it thought about Veve is. So there's a little thing, summary from ChatGPT. Veve has not only enhanced the collecting experience, but also fostered a global community of enthusiasts who connect and interact with each other, connecting a global community through each other. All right. So I think we have a video to showcase what Veve is about. When you guys are ready. Thank you. So this is a short video about the partnership we did with Marvel. Once again, one of the reasons why we become such a high and fast-growing business is that as of today, we have hundreds and hundreds of characters and brands on. We have partnered and done licensing deal with Marvel, DC, Warner Brothers, Disney, Pixar, Star Wars, Universal, DreamWorks, Sony, even United Postal Service, gaming companies such as Ubisoft, Capcom, CBS out there. So that was one of the reasons why we got such a huge growth, because the fandom around it and people can relate to these brands, and that really elevated what got us there. Now, next slide, just give you some key stats around what we have done. So date we launched from 2021 in live. We have minted and sold over 8.5 million collectibles, done over 10 million transactions, and that GMV value have grossed over 2.3 billion in New Zealand dollar sales. Over 180 countries you could download, and over 260,000 plus active users, with about 116 ARPU. And throughout the period of time, we will rank very much a good 5 to 6 months, the top store in the Google and under the entertainment, #1, even in America, beyond some of the streaming platforms like Disney Plus or Paramount Pictures, Peacock, HBO. So the challenges that we have, so not everything is seen as is that good. This chapter now, I call it 0%. So if I was about to write a book or be a Netflix documentary, it will call the 0%. And that really means we had 0% to be successful. Because, #1, we were pre-revenue. So it was extremely difficult to get talent even on board, to think about what we're trying to achieve. #2, we were pre-revenue, pre-launch. No brand even wanted to work with us. So imagine you going up to a meeting, you say, well, we don't actually have an app, we don't have a revenue, we have an idea in this beautiful white paper, it looks like we're going to take over the world, believe us. And the other thing is, no brand want to be cross-pollinated. So you can imagine Marvel and DC, or Star Wars and Star Trek, they don't want to be in the same universe. So it convinces these IP owners that collectible lives together. People play toys and superhero, they don't think about which brands you are, so they need to cross-pollinate. That was a very difficult position. Unproven concept. You hear from here before, it was extremely difficult to fundraise because it wasn't unproven. No investor could understand that there will be a market for digital collectibles at all out there. It was 0% to get funding. In fact, we had 0% funding from VCs. We were undercapitalized. Before we launched, we were about up to 6 weeks of payroll left of a team. And one of my advisors who's sitting here in the room with us today, I ring him up and I say to him, listen, we actually running out of money, so we got a few weeks left. And his advice to me was, have you ever thought about turning this app on and see if anyone wants to buy anything of you? By this time, American Express was 220,000. I'm in debt to them. So technically, if they were doing conversion, they'd be my largest shareholder. So I told this gentleman, my advisor, well, I got a problem, because if I turn it on, I need AWS cloud storage system. And he runs a fund, and then he did some magic email to AWS, and a couple of days later, we had 60,000 US of credit dropped into account. And then, bang, we smashed it, we turned it on. And that was basically the first step into this journey. So what have we done right? We really understood the fandom of Nexus. So you think in collectibles, you think of a toy, you think of a game. We always knew The second secret of these people who love play games, they click things, they also click toys, and we basically draw a segment in the middle, and we really believe that was worth about $40 billion a year in revenue, because people who love Batman will also probably like NBA sports, or they will also love to buy comics. So that's what we were going for. And that really got us where we are. Now, just to key points of the takeaway on our business, we are an extremely high performance and product focus. So our goal into the success today has been built on these 9 bullet points constantly in my mind, and I want to share with you guys. Number 1 is to have your team focus on the purpose of what you're trying to do. In the 60s, NASA wants to be in the man on the moon. So basically, everyone work at NASA, you talk to them, even the janitor, they are just going, we want to put a man on the moon. The CEO's mission is to put a man in the moon. Our purpose is to make the world fall in love with collecting, okay, in the new medium. So our purpose was set very strong. Every single person in the company is set with this purpose and this mission. Number 2, part of this whole thing was how do we scale from a New Zealand business to a global audience at the fastest pace? So we were never thinking about just being in New Zealand or Australasia. We wanted to be a global audience and how we bring these brands on board. Number 3, we found a product that nobody was doing. Nobody could understood. And that's why these brands actually give us the licensing, the partnership, because there was not available. If you were copying us today, it would be very difficult. So focus on a product that is not already in the market or you have expertise on. Number 4, how do you onboard these users? So as many of you probably know, crypto is very difficult. You need to get a private key. You need to set up your C wallet. You need to get a MetaMask. You need to do this and that. We basically allow any user to scan that QR code coming up shortly, and I expect all of you will be downloading it before you leave, and onboard them on. And that is how easy it is. It should be in the palm of your hand. Number 4 is the endless storytelling. How do we get the storytelling in the brand and how people can interact with these? And then creative economy, where we really think the biggest opportunity in the future is how all these communities can be part of that creative economy. You want to think of a product with a purpose, how to scale, how to get all these audience into one creative economy. And one of the key success in Veve is our virtual showroom and the engagement. So I always talk about the digital collectible or the NFT is really just a byproduct to something greater. And many of our partners and licensors didn't quite understand. The collectible that you use in the AR in the showroom eventually will be part of the greater, the buzzword going around was the metaverse. So how do you get engaged with your users in that? And we allow users now to create their own showroom to decorate their collectible in their digital world. And one of the most important part when we were pitching to all the VC was we tried to understand the app. So you got Instagram out there, which is pretty much a celebrity showing you image of great life. You got LinkedIn, which is very business. You got Facebook, which is very focused and family orientated. You got Twitter, is pretty much all about these tweets. We want to generate something very different. And that was, one of our mission was that if a user can take a photo with a Spider-Man or the Batman next to them and basically upload it to a social media and allow connecting that second secret with someone, and that someone go, oh, I didn't know you like Batman, where did you get that from? When a picture can create a conversation is where you think, where I thought, and it is, where you're going to be making a lot of money. How you can connect people, talk to each other through just a simple photo image. And that's what we've done. the user-generated content, and I will show you some in the next slide coming up. And then lastly, in any business is about community building. So I talked about 97 in my retail shop. Back of the shop, you can sit down, play a card game, play a board game. You're building that community, and that's what we have done in Veve, and that's why we grew to the size we are. Here are some UGCs generated by users. And users can easily upload these, the images. You got Robocop there. We license a Lamborghini, so you can actually purchase your own digital Lamborghini. You can interact with it. You can open the door. You can actually drive it in AR mode. You press the AR mode, you press the remote control, it pops out. You can drive the Lamborghini around. There's an Ecomodo from Back to the Future train. Someone posted on the train station, they stopped by. The UGC, user-generated content, how does your company, your product will help to generate that? And lastly, it's about building that community. Here's some photos at our community where we go events. We run 2 to 3 live events globally. Next month in October, we're going to be in the New York Comic-Con. Once again, we are participating in this partnership with Marvel to build that fandom and to be interact in front of them. And we couldn't do that until the COVID was over. So here's some photo to share with you guys all. Now, lastly, so I started from collecting stamps in the beginning, and I talk about how do we change industries. And I was very, very proud this April, I had New Zealand Post join on Veve. So you can actually now buy digital artwork of the New Zealand stamp going back to as far as 1898. So these are the things that was relevant to me and the importance in bringing the collector together, innovate. Thank you. And hopefully you guys can find out more by putting up the QR code. That's yours.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, David, for telling us your story.
Thanks, Veve. Yeah.
It's been a big week for you, hasn't it? Actually, there's a bit of news we could share with the audience. So David's actually been named EY's Master Entrepreneur of the Year this week. Pretty awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's a long way from hawking stamps on Queen Street.
Yeah, that's good.
So, look, where to start? I think, David, one thing I'd love to understand is that you're a master entrepreneur, but you're also a master collector of many things. What are some of the things that you collect in your spare time still?
Well, comic book is a huge passion in comics, cards. I have a quite large tribal art mask, African mask. I go all out, If I see something that intrigues me, excites me, colors, pictures, artwork, pretty much everything you think of, I think I have some sort of collection of it.
Where do you keep all that?
I do have a couple of storage and also a gallery for them behind my store. Yeah.
I can see why you maybe went for digital collectibles as a scalability thing.
Yeah, definitely. Dan always mentioned, you pretty much have put all your things that you love onto this platform. Yeah.
Nice.
So pretty good.
So just thinking about the story you've had from, your hawking stamps on Queen Street, opening the game store, to now Veve being a global success with some of your favourite and the world's favourite licensors issuing content on it. When you reflect on the journey and kind of the highs and the lows, that being in debt to Amex to the tune of $250K and almost going out of business before you could launch, what advice do you have for your younger self as you look back?
Yeah, I mean, couple very important bit is really embrace failure, because nothing worse than you learn from that failure or things that didn't work out. You really need to be agile, able to think very fast where you need to position and be refocused on. Other parts is really, the most important is building relationships, building friendships. A lot of the people that is part of the company are people from school that is joined on board when I was in college. Talking about Dan, friend for now 25 years, from one small business. We got together, we enjoy each other's company, and we brainstorm. And today we build this thing. Relationship is very much the key part, because you never know how these people are going to come into your life that's going to be important. And in a way, you have three types of friends. You got one that you grew up with, you have great time, you got a work colleague, and then you have those professions that, in your life, it's going to be very important if you want to do business or get into things that you can rely on.
Yeah. So learn from your mistakes and move on quickly, and keep your friends close.
Definitely,
Yeah, it's good advice. So if you go back to the Vagabond Games days, and you're seeing this community of people come in and enjoy collecting and that interaction, what was like the spark that made you think there's going to be a different way of interacting? These digital channels are going to change the way these interactions happen. And can you talk a bit about where you think the future of fandom and collecting might go from here? Like, what's beyond NFTs?
Yeah, so I mentioned about the byproduct of these collectibles. We really envision that, and Apple has announced the Pro Vision glasses coming out next year. The AR, the mixed reality, where users will be able to put on these glasses. And what people want to do is really not just looking at the emails or messages. They want to see digital layers of artworks. You can imagine me putting it on, and I have Batman or my favorite digital Lamborghini on the side. And that's where this whole world is moving into, a digital layer. Yeah. And that's part of this whole progress coming up.
So, metaverse, yay or nay?
Yeah, I think we're moving in there.
Yeah?
Yes.
We actually have a question from the audience. So, the question is, how would an everyday person end up using Veve NFTs in a metaverse context?
Yeah, so we are on beta trial right now. And the beta trial, we have invited a small group of live users to be part of that Veve home experience. What we have done and what we have rolling out in phase one is allowing users to build their homes. That creative economy, you can come in, build a digital couch, your lights, the wallpapers, where you want to position things, and your collectible. And that will be the first interaction. And then people can stream in the Veve home. You can run a podcast, you can run your streaming in there and watch your favorite content in your home, in the digital verse. And furthermore, inviting your friends to part of that. And we do see there's a market and demand for that. And the metaverse has actually been around for a long time. Gaming company like Fortnite, Roblox, they serve a purpose, and that purpose is creating games and to be number one and doing things. Veve will be into, I mentioned, the creative economy, where people can come together and create things that they love and inspired by one another's work.
So I'm imagining like a digital version of the Chancery Lane Vagabond game store. You can walk in, you can show off your collectibles.
Yeah, definitely. At last Comic-Con, we already showcased the Marvel showroom, where users can be immersed and come into environments, see all the products that we have made, and you will see more of this type of activity. In the future, you might be able to see virtual music concerts on.
So when you started out, as you said, like the idea of these collectibles being digital was quite strange. All of these licensors were like, yeah, sure, do what you want. No one's going to buy that. Do they get it now? And do they get like the future of the metaverse?
Yes. Yeah. It was a very, very, very difficult hard sell, as you can imagine. You're sitting in front of the executive. Their lawyers are thinking, well, how do we structure this contract? How do we make this work? Is this even legal? And how does the security aspect work? But, just putting that aside, the world of digital collectibles are now moving into what we call a digital world. So you can start to see we will be announcing in the coming weeks that physical companies who makes toys or collectibles will have a digital twin to go with it. A lot more people who buys collectibles, toys, they put it on their shelf, they never open the boxes. So this allows them to have another experience of having that digital twin coexist.
And be able to trade it as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's powerful. So another question from the audience. How do you communicate the value of NFT collectibles and get consumers to buy in and be interested, given, there's a bit of a taboo, there's some negative association now with NFTs and crypto?
Yeah, I think up to date right now, is a lot of the projects out there has been quite speculative. They are community building, and it is very hard. You really need to stand by brands, and that's why Veve focus very much on premium brands. When you come onto Veve, you're going to get a legitimate licensed product, and that's what we build on. And I go back to the early day, when we first thought about it, was all about security. How do we make sure that you don't get hacked? How do you, all the security behind it? And that really builds the brands up, and then from there onwards, you build the utility value. What else can you do with it? We have the AR, we have the showroom, we're moving into the metaverse side of things.
Yeah. Actually, it's an interesting point that you're saying about authenticity and being able to guarantee that it's, a legitimate, Disney item, for example. How do you contend with generative AI and, the ability to produce anything via a few prompts?
Yeah, I mean, we always going to have challenges, and don't get me wrong, that is a major challenge. So as the technology progresses, innovates, moving forward, we embrace, like blockchain, the authenticity, the metadata that you get, the immutable ledgers, all these things basically play part of it. So more and more brands, when it comes out, announcing it and partnership, making it legitimate, it's very important, because authenticity and confidence is the most key part when people buy into digital.
In fact, it might get more and more important as things become easier to copy, right? Because
definitely, and that's what a lot of these brands are embracing and moving into.
Awesome. We're out of time, but I've got one last question for you.
Okay.
So Veve's a lot about the community that surrounds the collecting. We saw on the slide a few of the selfies that you've taken over the years with the community. What is the most shocking, out there thing that a fan of you personally has done? Because I know there's a few.
Yeah, I mean, one of the major things about the Veve fam is the family, the community behind this whole thing. And we couldn't build this business without the community. So major shout out to our fans out there, if you're going to be watching this. There's so many great stories. We have seen people do tattoos on themselves. But my craziest experience was last year. I was going through London. We have a live event in DesignerCon. And after that show, I decided to travel through France and basically with lineup of meetings with artists and licensor. And I think I flew out from Frankfurt airport. Well, I know I did, in Germany. And then I was lining up and getting through the immigration to get out the customs. It took a lot longer than normal, and I'm going thinking, oh my God, they probably think, they looked me up on the news or something. And it took for ages. Can you imagine standing in front of an immigration officer and you see 5 people going past? The guy basically took his cell phone up and had my photos on it. And then he went to the bag talking to his manager. I'm going, I think I'm not going home now. I thought maybe I need to text Dan to go. I don't think I'm going to be boarding the flight. His manager's talking to him, and he basically told his manager, man, I'm a huge fan of Dave. I need to take him to the gate. So he took his break instantly and basically came out the window to get me through to pass through the custom check-in. I thought that was pretty crazy. But we have a very wild fan, and we love them, and just that creativity around it.
That's amazing. David, thank you so much.
Thank you, Phoebe.
And